In 1944, 20 million American families did something that terrified the food industry. They stopped buying vegetables. Not because of shortages, not because of rationing, because they grew their own. These families produced 40% of America's fresh vegetables in their backyards, in window boxes, on rooftops, in vacant lots. 10 billion pounds of food grown by ordinary people with no farming experience, exposed to no pesticides, transported 0 miles, costing almost nothing. Grocery stores watched their produce sections go empty, not from scarcity, from irrelevance. And then the war ended. Within 5 years, those 20 million gardens vanished. Exposed to eliminate, exposed to replace, exposed to forget. What replaced them? Exposed to grass, exposed to lawns you cannot eat, exposed to suburban rules that made vegetable gardens illegal. This isn't a gardening video. This is the story of how corporations erased the most successful food independence movement in American history and made sure you'd never try it again. Number 1, the 40% miracle. Let those numbers sink in for a moment. 40%, 4 out of every 10 vegetables eaten in America during 1944 came from backyard gardens. Not from farms, not from grocery stores, from regular people growing food in whatever space they had. The government called them victory gardens. The name suggested patriotism, supporting the troops, doing your part for the war effort. But something else was happening, something the food industry noticed immediately. Families were becoming food independent. A quarter-acre plot could feed a family of 4 for an entire year. Window boxes produced enough lettuce and herbs for daily salads. Rooftop gardens in New York City grew tomatoes and peppers and beans. 20 million gardens exposed the truth about food. You don't need grocery stores. You don't need commercial farms. You don't need a distribution system that adds cost at every step. You need seeds, soil, water, sunlight, and knowledge that humans possessed for 10,000 years before supermarkets existed. The Victory Garden movement didn't just supplement the food supply during wartime. It proved that the entire commercial food system was optional. Number 2, how it actually worked. The government provided everything families needed to succeed. The United States Department of Agriculture published detailed guides for every climate zone in America. They explained what to plant and when, how to maximize small spaces, how to extend growing seasons, how to preserve harvests through canning and drying. Seed companies distributed packets at cost, or sometimes for free. Schools taught children to garden. Radio programs shared tips and techniques. Neighbors helped neighbors. Knowledge spread through communities, like the vegetables spread through gardens. Women led this movement. With men overseas fighting, women transformed yards into productive food systems. They learned skills their grandmothers knew, but their mothers had forgotten. How to save seeds from year to year. How to compost kitchen scraps into rich soil. How to rotate crops to maintain fertility. How to can hundreds of jars of vegetables to last through winter. In 1943 alone, American families bought 315,000 pressure cookers for home canning. They weren't just growing food, they were building complete food independence systems that required nothing from the commercial supply chain. Number 3, what the food industry saw. Here's what you need to understand about 1944. The commercial food industry was watching their customer base disappear. 40% of vegetable sales gone, not to competitors, not to imports, gone entirely. Families growing their own food don't buy groceries. Families canning their own vegetables don't buy canned goods. Families learning these skills teach their children, and those children teach their children. This wasn't a temporary wartime adjustment. This was a generational shift that threatened the entire business model of commercial food production. Every Victory Garden represented a customer who might never return to the grocery store produce aisle. Every family that learned to can their own tomatoes might never buy commercial sauce again. Every neighborhood that shared seeds and techniques was building a parallel food system outside corporate control. The food industry didn't oppose Victory Gardens during the war. That would have been unpatriotic. They waited. They watched 20 million families become food independent. And they planned because they knew the war would end eventually. And when it did, they would have work to do. Number FOUR, the Erasure Campaign. The war ended in 1945. Within 5 years, Victory Gardens had virtually disappeared. This didn't happen by accident. The government stopped promoting food independence the moment the war ended. No more free educational materials, no more radio programs, No more school gardening classes. The patriotic duty of growing food transformed overnight into an unnecessary relic of wartime hardship. But stopping promotion wasn't enough. The culture had to change. Post-war America saw the largest marketing campaign in history for processed and packaged foods. Corporations told women that cooking from scratch was drudgery, that modern housewives used convenience foods, that buying food was progress, growing it was primitive. Suburban developments spread across the country. Levittown in 1947 became the template. Identical houses on identical lots with identical lawns. Not gardens, lawns. Grass you cannot eat. Grass that requires constant maintenance. Grass that produces nothing but conformity. Homeowner associations wrote rules into property deeds. Front yard vegetable gardens prohibited. Only grass allowed. The spaces that grew 40% of America's vegetables in 1944 became decorative displays of wasted potential. Number 5, the laws they passed. Today, in cities across America, growing vegetables in your front yard can result in fines. In some places, jail time. This isn't exaggeration. A couple in Florida was forced to uproot their 17-year-old vegetable garden because local ordinances prohibited it. Cities have codes specifically banning front yard food production. Homeowner associations include vegetable garden prohibitions in their standard covenants. The official reasons sound reasonable. Gardens attract wildlife. Gardens look untidy. Gardens don't conform to neighborhood aesthetics. But think about what's actually being said. Growing food is prohibited. Growing grass is required. You must maintain a lawn that produces nothing. You cannot maintain a garden that feeds your family. Only 2 states in America have passed right-to-garden laws protecting citizens who want to grow food on their own property. 2 states, Illinois and Florida. The rest of the country allows local governments and homeowner associations to prohibit food production on private land. This is the legacy of the post-war campaign against Victory Gardens. They didn't just stop promoting food independence, they made it illegal. Number 6, the processed food takeover. After the war, something else happened to American food. The same factories that produced ammunition began producing fertilizer. Ammonium nitrate made bombs during the war. After the war, it made cheap synthetic fertilizer. The same chemicals used for poison gas became pesticides. Industrial agriculture exploded. Farms got bigger, food got cheaper, and more processed and less nutritious. The food industry marketed directly to the housewives who had led the Victory Garden movement. Buy food, don't grow it. Modern women don't can vegetables. Modern women don't spend hours in kitchens. They spend minutes. They open packages. They heat and serve. In 1965, Americans spent about 60 minutes a day preparing food. Today, that number is 27 minutes. We don't cook anymore. We assemble, we reheat, we unwrap. The skills that 20 million families learned during World War II have nearly disappeared. Seed saving, soil building, crop rotation, home canning, preservation. These aren't common knowledge anymore. They're specialized hobbies. The food industry didn't just replace Victory Gardens with supermarkets. They replaced food knowledge with food dependence. They replaced skills with purchases. They replaced independence with convenience. Number 7. What they don't want you to know. Here's the truth that makes the commercial food industry uncomfortable. Everything that worked in 1944 still works today. Seeds still grow into plants. Sunlight still powers photosynthesis. Compost still builds soil. Knowledge still transfers from person to person. The only thing that changed is what we believe about ourselves. We believe we don't have time to garden, but we spend hours watching television and scrolling phones. We believe we don't have space to garden, but we maintain thousands of square feet of grass that produces nothing. We believe we don't know how to garden, but our great-grandparents learned in months during a world war. We believe food independence is impossible, but 20 million families proved otherwise just 80 years ago. The Victory Garden movement wasn't a special circumstance that can't be repeated. It was proof of what's always been possible. Families feeding themselves from small spaces using simple techniques. The grocery store isn't a requirement of modern life. It's a choice we've been convinced to make. Every tomato plant in a container is a small rebellion. Every backyard garden is a vote for independence. Every family that learns to grow food breaks the cycle that started when Victory Gardens disappeared. 20 million Victory Gardens vanished after World War II, but the knowledge didn't completely disappear. Your grandmother might remember. Your great-grandmother definitely knew. The techniques are preserved in old books and agricultural archives. The seeds still exist. The sunlight still falls on your property the same way it fell in 1944. The question is what you do with that sunlight. You can grow grass. You can maintain a lawn that produces nothing but work. You can continue buying every vegetable from a system designed to keep you dependent. Or you can do what 20 million families did during the hardest years of the 20th century. You can plant something, anything. A tomato plant in a 5-gallon bucket, a window box of herbs, a raised bed where grass used to grow. Every garden is a small act of independence. Every seed planted is knowledge preserved for the next generation. Corporations lobbied to ban victory gardens. They succeeded in erasing them from suburban America. But they cannot ban the sun. They cannot ban seeds. They cannot ban the knowledge once it's in your hands. The victory garden isn't history. It's an option that's always available. 20 million families prove that grocery stores are optional, that food independence is possible, that ordinary people can grow 40% of their own vegetables. They did it during a world war. You can do it during peace. The only question is whether you will.